My name is the Archivist. The year is 2026. We experience time as a river, flowing in one direction. But the files in this archive suggest that sometimes that river can be dammed, diverted, or even fractured. Today's file is about a man whose timeline was broken, a man who attended his own funeral before he had even died. This is a story about the anatomy of a day that happened twice. Welcome back to the archive. This is file number 1138, the Chronos Anomaly. The subject is Arthur Finch. He was, by all accounts, a man made of beige. An accountant for a mid-level paper company. His life was a metronome, a perfect, repeating pattern of sameness. He woke at 6:30 a.m., ate the same breakfast, took the same train, and returned home at 6:15 p.m. every single day. He was a man utterly devoid of mystery, which is why the mystery of his death was so profound. On the morning of May 12th, Arthur Finch's building manager found him dead in his apartment, slumped over his meticulously organized desk. The coroner was called. The time of death was placed at approximately 10 a.m. The cause, a simple, tragic, but entirely unremarkable heart attack. The police saw no signs of foul play. The case was, for all intents and purposes, closed before it was even opened. A boring end for a boring man. The paradox began 3 hours later. At 1:05 p.m., a credit card charge came through from the Gilded Spoon, a cafe across town. The name on the card, Arthur Finch. The waitress vividly remembered him. He was a regular, always ordered the same thing. She said he seemed perfectly normal. Then, at 2:40 p.m., the Transit Authority log showed Arthur Finch's travel pass being used to board the Crosstown Express. CCTV footage confirmed it. Arthur Finch, in the same beige coat he was found dead in, calmly waiting on the platform. The sightings continued. He was seen by an old colleague at the city library. He was photographed by a dozen tourists while looking at a painting in the Museum of Modern Art. The final, confirmed sighting was at 4:15 p.m. After that, he vanished. This is the problem presented to Detective Isabelle Varga. A man was found dead at noon, with a time of death of 10 a.m. But he then spent the rest of his afternoon alive and well, moving through a city of millions. Varga's first instinct was to dismantle the paradox. A twin? Arthur Finch was an only child. A doppelganger? A look-alike who also happened to have his wallet, his travel pass, and his exact mannerisms? The odds were astronomical. Varga's team spent weeks trying to debunk the sightings, to find the string puller, the imposter. They found nothing. Every piece of evidence, digital, physical, and eyewitness, was perfect. Arthur Finch had lived for 6 hours after he died. Frustrated, Varga returned to the one place the paradox began, Arthur's apartment. She began her own deconstruction, not of the crime, but of the man. His life was a monument to routine. His bank statements showed no strange purchases. His phone records showed no unusual calls. He was a closed loop, a perfect circle of predictability. But in a small, paper day planner, she found the flaw. Every single day was identical, except for Wednesday. For the past year, every Wednesday at 3 p.m., there was a single, cryptic symbol drawn in blue ink, an Ouroboros. A snake eating its own tail. The day he died was a Wednesday. The visuals could shift here to an object being sliced, revealing a perfect, repeating pattern inside. The symbol was not a place, but it was a clue. Varga's team traced every known organization using that symbol. It led them down a rabbit hole of esoteric societies and New Age cults, all dead ends. But then, a deep data search found it, a small, private neurological research clinic in an old, unmarked building. Its name, used only in internal documents, the Ouroboros Project. Its lead researcher was a name Varga recognized with a jolt of cold electricity, Dr. Eris Thorne, the same forensic acoustician who had helped her solve the impossible murder of the composer, Adrian Finch. Varga found Dr. Thorne in her new lab, a place far more discreet and far more advanced than her last. Thorne was not surprised to see her. "I wondered how long it would take you, Detective," she said, her voice calm. "I assume this is about Mr. Finch." Under the threat of a federal warrant, heiress Thorne confessed everything. She hadn't been studying sound anymore. She had been studying time, or rather, the human perception of it. Arthur Finch was a volunteer in her secret, unsanctioned research program. "I wasn't trying to build a time machine," Eris explained, her voice a mix of scientific pride and deep regret. "I was trying to heal trauma. I built a device, the Chronos Chamber, that uses focused electromagnetic fields to alter the brain's neurological processing of temporal flow. In simple terms, it could make a person relive a 10-year-old memory in 10 minutes of real time, allowing them to process it without the weight of duration." "And what happened to Arthur?" Varga pressed. "Something unexpected," Eris admitted. "The device had a flaw. On his final session, there was a power surge. Instead of merely altering his perception of a past event, the machine created a temporal echo. It fractured his timeline. It projected a quantum duplicate of his physical body backwards in time by several hours. The body found in the apartment at noon, the one who died of a heart attack at 10 a.m., that was the echo. A temporal afterimage, a phantom created by the neurological shock of the event, sent back to its point of origin. It was real, physical, but it was also just a memory, a recording of a death that hadn't happened yet." The real Arthur Finch, the man seen all over the city, was still alive, moving through his final day, completely unaware that he was already dead. He was the original recording. The sightings were simply him, living out the last hours of his life, his mind protected from the paradox by the Chronos Chamber's influence. He arrived at the clinic at his usual time, but the strain of the fractured timeline was too much. At 4:15 p.m., his heart gave out. He collapsed, and as the paradox resolved itself, his body simply vanished, reintegrating with the original timeline, leaving only the first body, the echo, behind. A death with two timelines and a victim who was a ghost long before he died. The archivist's voice returns for the conclusion. Dr. Thorne's research was seized, her lab shut down by agencies whose names do not appear in any public record. The official case file of Arthur Finch was sealed, his death permanently listed as natural causes, the dozens of eyewitness accounts written off as the biggest case of mass hysteria in the city's history. The truth was simply too complex to be believed. This file reminds us that our lives are built on the assumption that time moves in a straight line. But what is a timeline if not a story? And we know that stories can be bent, fractured, and even retold. The anatomy of Arthur Finch's life wasn't found in his body, but in the fractured, impossible timeline of his final day. This file is now closed, leaving us with a chilling reminder that the reality we take for granted may be far more fragile than we think. What are your theories on the Chronos anomaly? Do you believe Dr. Thorne's explanation, or is there another secret hidden within the data? We invite you to deconstruct the case in the comments below. If this journey into a fractured timeline captivated your imagination, show your support for our work with a like. It helps these stories find others who seek the truth beneath the surface. To ensure you have access to the next impossible file we unseal from the archives, be sure to subscribe to the Marrow files and activate the notification bell. Please note, the story you have just heard and the accompanying visuals are entirely a work of fiction created to explore the anatomy of a mystery. The archive is now closed.